Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Michael Voris. Pro-life wins drive election. The election may not be all that many hoped for, but it will certainly make it harder for the Obama administration to force its pro-death agenda on the American people. Some highlights include a meaningful win in Pennsylvania with pro-life candidate Pat Toomey over Democrat Joe Sestak, to Florida, where a win by Marco Rubio must be reminding Democrats that young and talented pro-life politicians are coming up in the ranks and may foretell even bigger victories in 2012. Across the boards, it's clear that many voters favor candidates with their feet firmly planted in the culture of life, and that in this election, the Democratic candidates who voted for Obamacare have paid at the polls. The battle may be over for pro-death politicians like Nancy Pelosi, but the war has just begun to stop abortion and euthanasia from destroying Western civilization. Tuition funding threatened as a direct result of the Obama administration taking control of student loans. The federal government may soon be dictating policy and curriculum at Catholic colleges by changing state chartering and licensing rules. These rules dictate the availability of student aid programs and, if withdrawn, could make it impossible for students to meet tuition costs at Catholic institutions. At the heart of the matter is funding criteria, which include supplying health benefits for employees that are contrary to Catholic teaching, such as birth control and abortion services. Many Catholic institutions are presently seeking legal advice in an effort to fight off the trampling of constitutional religious liberty guarantees by the Obama White House. UN bias against Christians. The Vatican observer to the United Nations says that violence against Christians around the world is escalating and that most governments and their representatives at the United Nations aren't doing anything to stop the abuse, violence, and murder. These comments come after this week's invasion of a Baghdad church, killing some 52 Catholics by Muslim militants. Al-Qaeda has already claimed credit for the massacre, which they say was in retaliation for the treatment of Muslim women in Egypt. Stay with us, back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
CatholicUnderground.com, the podcast about our Catholic faith and new media.
New Catholic Seminary for Cuba. A newly constructed seminary will open just outside of Havana today after more than 5 decades of persecution. The original seminary was closed in 1966 amidst intense intimidation by Fidel Castro and his regime, causing most archdiocesan seminarians to abandon their studies. Cardinal Ortega is credited with making the construction possible by negotiating some hard-won diplomatic victories with the less militant Raul Castro government. Construction funds came from Catholic faithful in the United States, Italy, and Germany. And lastly, keeping their churches. As some Anglicans convert to Roman Catholicism, they may be allowed to take their churches with them. The General Synod of the Church of England, in a dramatic statement, says that Anglican bishops may permit these newly minted English Catholics to continue using or sharing their original parish churches. This permission to continue using these churches is a bit of an irony, as many of these historic parishes were taken violently from Roman Catholics during the Reformation in England. I'm Michael Voris. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. And be sure and check out The Vortex today, where we discuss the Catholic vote, but not exactly what you think. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tell your friends about us. And as always, God bless you.